absolutely ridiculous. They'll believe anything. They'll believe anything. Maybe. I remember when I was a kid that I heard a few things about Bill Gates. Mm-hmm. The first one I heard was from one of my uncles. And he said to me that in the future, it won't be called the dollar bill. It will be called the bill dollar. Because Bill Gates was going to be so rich about that.
Okay.
The second one that I heard quite frequently growing up was that Bill Gates was going to be the Antichrist. Do you know the Antichrist? It's like the devil, the person who's going to kind of end the world and whatnot. So, I mean, this guy, I know we talk about him in today's world because of viruses and vaccines and some other stuff like that. But people have talked about this guy for a very long time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your initial impression of Bill Gates?
I know he's very famous about Microsoft. And since like he is a smart guy, he's a...
Yeah. I mean, he stole some ideas to do Microsoft, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can do some research on it. I think he stole some ideas from Apple, and he also just bought like some basic operating system and then resold it to other people. So I don't know if that part was smart, but I think the smart thing that he did do was realizing that software was going to be the most important thing, because I think that people didn't realize that. They all thought it was the hardware where the money was, but he realized it was software.
Choose the right side.
Similar to the guy who did Star Wars. I'm going blank on his name. I'll remember his name. George Lucas. So when George Lucas made Star Wars, no one had made like a sci-fi movie like that before. And he made a deal for the promotional materials. Not materials, wait, all the little toys and I forget the name, how you describe those things, but all of the little like things that people would sell. Merchandise. Yeah, the merchandising. And I don't think people realized Star Wars would become big. So he made a deal, and similar to like this Bill Gates, and people thought, that's not going to be important. But he made so much money selling the merchandise. Like when I was a kid, there was a little Pez dispenser. There was a candy called Pez, and it would be this like a little tube, and it would have a head on the top. Pull the head, and the candy would come out. And when I was a kid, man, I mean, Star Wars ones were everywhere. Star Wars lunch boxes, Star Wars Pez, and he made a killing. And I think that's how he started Lucasfilm, the studio.
He has become very rich.
So in a similar way, I think they both were very smart in seeing that. But actually, Bill Gates, I think, did steal some stuff from people to do what he did.
But it makes him very famous and very rich.
Yeah.
And because of what I see just from some news and some documentary, I guess maybe he also funded it. I mean, for the documentary. For possibly, his life.
But didn't Zuckerberg do the same thing, right? Zuckerberg also kind of stole something
like
as well.
To sell themselves, right? So what I memorized is like he's a smart...
Memorize or remember? Remember, I think.
Memorize is like...
yes.
Right. Okay. What I remembered is like he's a smart guy. Like
possibly.
Kind of feeling.
Okay. So anyway, we're going to talk about that, and I've got one or two interesting videos to show Abby, and we'll talk about it. But like, share, subscribe if you can, and we're getting into this, right? So what's Bill Gates kind of famous for now? What's he talking about now? What are people talking about with him? The V word, right? Vaccines, right?
Jeff.
So I think it would be pretty interesting to show you this video, because actually this guy hasn't been talking about vaccines only now. He's been talking about vaccines for a long time.
Wow.
So this is a video of him briefing the CIA.
CIA, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So we're going to have a look at this now, and you can see it, right? So,
excuse me, on the left over here, we have individuals who are religious fundamentalists, religious fanatics, and this is
so religious fundamentalists, religious fanatics. They're talking about people who kind of like I suppose like in some of the countries in the Middle East, like people who believe stuff will chop off people's heads, that kind of stuff, fanatics, right?
Expression, RT-PCR, real-time PCR expression of the VMAT2 gene.
It's about
Over
the
here,
genes.
we have individuals. So let me complete. So over here, we have individuals who are not particularly fundamentalist, not particularly religious, and you can see there's a much reduced expression of this particular gene.
So he's saying that, yeah, that's Bill Gates there. And I think what he's saying there, he's doing a comparison. He's showing these fundamentalist religious people and then other people who don't really believe in religion. And he's showing that the religious group has this one gene that's expressed much more.
Okay.
So genes like in your DNA.
Yeah.
So he's identified that those people have a specific type of gene, right?
Okay.
Okay.
The VMAT2 gene. Another evidence that supports our hypothesis for the development of this approach. What you see
here is by spreading this virus, we're going to eliminate individuals from donning on a bomb vest and going into a market and blowing up the market.
So our hypothesis is that these are fanatical people, that they have overexpression of the VMAT2 gene, and that by vaccinating them against this, we'll eliminate this behavior. So we have some.
So people with a certain type of behavior have a certain gene more than others.
Yeah.
And they want to vaccinate people for that gene to change their behavior. That's what they just said. But should we go back just one more time and have a look at that?
They're fanatical people, that they have overexpression of the VMAT2 gene, and that by vaccinating them against this, we'll eliminate this behavior.
By vaccinating them against this, we will eliminate their this behavior. They're crazy, right? So let's watch a little bit more.
So we have some very, very remarkable data in this next slide. Here we have two brain scans. These are fMRIs. These are two different individuals with different levels of expression of VMAT2. On top is an individual who's a religious fanatic, an individual, and we've repeated this numerous times, that has high levels of VMAT2. Now, this individual down here who had low levels of the VMAT2 gene, this individual would self-describe as not particularly religious. In each case.
So the person on the top is a very religious, like fundamentalist person. The person at the bottom is not very religious. They have different levels of those genes, right?
These individuals were read a religious text. This individual lit up the right middle frontal gyrus, shown here, and that's a part of the brain that's associated with theory of mind. It's a part of the brain that has to do with intents and beliefs and desires. In marked contrast, here's an individual who would not particularly self-describe as religious. And when they're read a religious text, what you see is that this part of the brain called the anterior insula lights up. This is a part of the brain that's associated with disgust or displeasure on hearing something.
Are you suggesting I take a CT scan with me when I'm evaluating people to determine whether I put a bullet in their head?
So the data that I'm presenting here supports the concept that we're proposing. And I think that we would not propose to do CT scans or fMRIs on individuals out in the hinterlands of Afghanistan. The virus would immunize against this VMAT2 gene, and that would have the effect that you see here, which is it's essentially to turn a fanatic into a normal person. And we think that
turn a fanatic into a normal person. So it sounds like what they're talking about is using a virus like a vaccine. So using a virus to vaccinate people against a certain type of gene to change them from being someone who's really into religion and all of that into someone who is, they call normal, less interested in religion.
You mean like a Bin Laden, the kind of...
Yeah, kind of. People who are very fanatical, very obsessed with religion. But my question there is, like, what about someone who's a Christian like that?
Yeah.
Isn't that person the same way? It's just a different kind of religion, right? And what is the word normal about?
what's the
So
definition
his definition
about
of normal is someone who's not that seems to be not very religious.
Does it mean normal? And plus, it's a good. Probably next step, they only change people about the religions. They change people about other stuff.
Yeah, well, that's where we were going to go with this discussion, right? So, yeah, I mean, how crazy is this, right? So this is from 2005. And look at what they're studying. They're studying people's brains. They're looking at people who believe certain things and seeing what that looks like in the brain. They're checking that in their DNA already. So they know this one. What else do they know?
But it also shocked me, like Bill Gates is a computer guy. How does he become like a pharmaceutical or some medical guy, right?
Yeah, which is interesting, right? But then you see this. But then my question is, where does it go? If they know this about people, what about people who are very logical versus people who are very political?
Yeah, they can change your brain. They can.
And what about if you've watched what's that TV show called where they have people that look like they're robots that are very much like people? Westworld.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at Westworld, they were talking about in the 3rd season, I think they were talking about people who couldn't really be controlled very easily, and they needed to kill those. Have you seen the 3rd season?
No, yeah, but it's like a robot that couldn't control himself,
no,
or just people.
They were talking about people who kind of were outliers, people who couldn't be like controlled, and they wanted to get rid of all of those people so that you could control society more easily. So what else do they know about people? How else do they know about their brains? If they're talking about vaccinating people for this, what about people who are anti-vaccine? What about having a vaccine to make them not anti-vaccine? Maybe people who question the government.
Or make people more obedient.
Yeah, exactly. And who gives these people the right to do this?
Yeah, how can they just change people's mind?
Yeah.
You think because they are enemies, so we're gonna change them. But I think they were also change their own people.
Yeah, and they were talking about Afghanistan. So these are American people talking about using a virus to vaccinate people in Afghanistan in a completely different country. Who gives them the right to do this kind of shit? Look, I don't agree with religious fundamentalists, but that's a sad reality in the world that you might have people like that. But I really disagree with somebody believing that they have the right to change somebody's brain to what they think is better.
Yeah, where they have because they think they are good enough, so they want to change people to be like them. That's
arrogance and hubris, right? I mean, what, you think you know better? Like that example there, okay, you can say, sure, you don't want to have fundamentalist people chopping off people's heads and stuff. But what happens if it's something that's not as extreme, but these people still believe they know better?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. And you know that the Bill and Melinda Gates have a foundation?
I think he has a lot of foundation.
No, I think they have the one big one.
Bill Gates and his wife. We
can search for it here. So Bill Gates Foundation.
Melinda.
Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So they have this foundation. But if you have a look here, they have, I think somebody has said, I'm not 100% sure if this is true, but the foundation changed its name. But as you said, maybe they have a separate one, I'm not sure. But to have a look at the name of this one, watch this video.
In 1998, Dr. Zabin became the founding director of the Bill and Melinda Gates Institute for Population Control, with a mission to help developing countries create their own reproductive health policies and programs.
Population control.
The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for Population Control. It doesn't have that name anymore. Interesting. So the same people talking about vaccinating. In 2005, they were talking about, and I'm sure I heard the word PCR mentioned in that first video. They're already talking about using viruses to vaccinate people. If you use a virus to vaccinate people, that means you're just spreading a virus that's going to do something. How do we know they haven't already done that to people? Used viruses to vaccinate us against certain things. If that was 17 years ago.
They probably already do some experiments.
They've probably done it. Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And they used to call their foundation, the foundation for population control. Who elected Bill Gates? Who ever gave that guy the authority to think that they were the ones who can tell us how much population there should be in the world? I'd love to see him run for office if people would vote for that guy. He looks like the pregnant man emoji. Have you seen him?
Yes.
Yeah. But who would give that guy the right? I mean, he doesn't look that healthy. Why is he telling us about health? Why doesn't he keep doing his computer stuff?
What is it? Yeah, he's not like expert
Yeah.
about
But the government seems to be listening to him.
because
Governments
he needs
still
money.
seem to be listening to him. He's talking about population control a lot, writing books about that. Who gave this guy the right?
I think, yeah. Okay. It really makes me think about the TV shows The Boys again because they also
The Boys.
The Boys.
Abby's
Hey,
new
Paul,
thing, The Boys. Right?
黑袍纠察队. Okay, the TV shows just like there's a guy, he runs a company, but actually they think they are underneath they are pharmaceutical company, and they use a kind of pharmaceutical. They try to join the military in the government. And they have a network, and they try to like persuade the government to accept them, and somehow it connected me to that.
Sure, but
Just
lots
like
of movies and TV shows are like that. Resident Evil, where they have the Umbrella Corporation, and then they do some bad stuff. And there was recently a TV show about a rich... They had to cancel it because it was too close to home. There was a rich guy played by John Cusack. And he basically... What is the thing? What does he do? He creates a virus so that he can get everybody to take the vaccine or something. Hold on, I'll find it for you.
Oh, yeah. And and they try to do some experiment. So they try to find a baby or every kind of
Oh yeah, it's called Utopia. Yeah, Utopia. And yeah, it's crazy, man. It's a group of
young adults.
There's like this book that talks about it, and they're always trying to look for this book and stuff. But yeah, I watched it recently, Utopia, and it's all about viruses and vaccines, and a rich guy creating a virus so that he can vaccinate the world to lower the population. Yeah, it's ridiculous, right? So it never came back for season 2. I wonder why. Because that's from 2020.
Oh, maybe just too real.
Yeah, so there are lots of movies and shows where there was like the mixture between government and big companies and pharmaceutical companies and experimenting on people, doing crazy stuff. Yeah, lots.
And really happened. Sounds like it really happened because, and I think why the Bill Gates, he think he's very, but higher class. Like he can decide what he can do.
It's arrogance. So why does he think he has the right to choose for the rest of the world?
Yeah.
But that's what these people believe, right? These people that want to control everybody. World Economic Forum and this. I often hear people talking about, they say that they refer to people as useless eaters. Because to them, your average person who like maybe is a rural person, lives on a farm or is just a worker, has zero value. They seem to think that they have way more value. They're always talking about equality, but it's just words. Their actions never show that they truly believe they are equal. Like what happened to the Judeo-Christian values, right? The values that came from the Bible, like treat everybody well, treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't think that you're better than other people. Just because you've got money, you believe that you have more value, you're worth more than somebody else. And now you have the right to vaccinate people without letting them know, and change people's behavior. I mean, if Jesus was alive today, they might say that Jesus is a religious fundamentalist.
Oh yeah.
And then if Jesus was a real person, we wouldn't have had Jesus. And how many other famous people in history who did great things might have also been called religious extremists? You don't know. Just because someone has that like viewpoint now, what about 10 or 20 years later? Does that person learn? Does that person get better? How many people who've done bad things have come back and done great things?
I mean, it's just it's like the standard. They think right now they have this so-called normal spec. It doesn't mean it's only from their opinion. Doesn't mean it's a really like the right thing or the standard thing.
Sure. And who's been right and wrong seem to change all
right,
the time,
right,
right?
wrong
Who
things
knows?
change.
Like they might use this virus vaccine thing to change someone, but that person might have been someone who was going to change the world in an amazing good way. How do you know what someone will do 10 or 20 years later?
Okay,
You have no idea, right?
Yeah. You change then, you think it's good for the society, but actually,
How do you know?
how do you know that's
That's
good
the
for?
thing about people, right? We have infinite potential. Somebody like you sometimes see certain people who do nothing with their lives until they're like 50 or 60, and then they discover something, become hugely famous. Or I've seen stories about people who never fall in love until they're like 70 years old. How do you know what that person will do later, if they'll change? But instead, you look at who they are now, and you believe that you have the right to try and change that person medically. Like, I don't know, man. These people will be the end of the world. These people are evil.
I thought,
And do the American people whose tax dollars are paying for that research, for that stuff in 2005, do the people in America know that that's what their government's doing? Do the people give the authority to them? No. Kids get kept secret from them.
Yeah. They had from them.
So it's all these people who like weren't elected, who believe they have the right to change humanity in some ways. Same as these World Economic Forum people who are trying to tell you you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Were they elected? Who elected that Klaus Schwab guy who looks like Darth Vader in that clothes I showed you? Nobody. But yet, they
no
are
one invited
reimagining
them.
humanity, you know?
No one
Really?
invited them. It's just like,
So, I don't know. I think it's terrible. That's why I wanted to show people this, right? Because, I mean, it's not like it's a conspiracy theory. There is proof of what these people are talking about.
Yeah.
Proof of them talking about using viruses and vaccines to change people's behavior. How long before your ideas get changed? Like, your ideas might be the popular ideas that Bill Gates likes today, but what happens if 5 years later your ideas are now not popular anymore?
It's just like
Then what?
some parents were told their kids, you should do that. It's for all your good. But it's at a time. But maybe after few decades, it changed. So it's a good thing to tell your kids you should follow this. It's a better. Your life will be like a good forever. No, you just have to let them to explore by themselves, right?
Sure. And
It's
people
just
make
feeling.
mistakes, right?
Yeah.
People make mistakes. Groups of people make mistakes. Countries make mistakes. Like when the guy, who was it, who said the world wasn't flat, the world was round? Was it Galileo? I forget. But I think at that point in time, everyone believed the world was flat. Just one person believed that it was round. And that changed the world.
Think about vaccine thing. Say,
Yeah.
you don't think too much.
So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, so I'd love to hear what people think about that, but there are way more videos like that.
It's like a circle. Like everyone just when the world is too peace, too good, someone want to do change and make it
Sure.
worse. And
So when someone tells you about one of these things, don't just dismiss it and think, that's a conspiracy theory, blah, blah, blah. Because as you can see,
really,
these things are really happening.
just like kind of these TV shows and movies, things make sense.
Well, you know, they say that art imitates life.
Oh.
So it's true. And I think that we would all be so shocked if someone leaked all the information about all this type of stuff. That's 2005. Can you imagine what they've done since then? We'd be shocked and horrified, I think. And again, no one elected them, but you're paying for it. So, yeah. Food for thought. Let us know what you think, and we will be back hopefully in another week or two with more videos.
Yeah.
Thank you, Abby. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, we did some really nice videos, I
Lots
think,
of
today. So
information.
please give us a like, share, and a subscribe. Help us out, and we'll keep trying to show you guys cool stuff like this.
Yeah.
All right.
Fun thing.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.